Welcome to the Tech Blog Writer Podcast, your guide to future tech trends and innovation in a language you understand. Now, over to your host, Neil Hughes.
Welcome back to the Tech Blog Writer Podcast. I've not seen sunlight for 3 days, but there are no sign of rickets just yet, so I think I'm going to be just fine. Now, while here, I bumped into Vikalp Tandon. He's the global CTO of Isobar today. We got along famously, so I invited him on the podcast because he's not only one of the smartest people I've met during my stay here, but he's also one of the good guys. And for those of you that don't know, Isobar is one of the sponsors at the Adobe Summit. Gartner has named Isobar in the Leaders Quadrant in its Magic Quadrant for Global Marketing Agencies for the 5th consecutive time. And this global digital agency of 6,500 people across 45 markets is united on one mission: to transform businesses, brands, and people's lives with the creative use of digital. As for Vikalp, well, he's responsible for expanding Isobar's data and technology consulting offering globally, all by working closely with the multi-disciplinary teams across Isobar's 45 markets. So buckle up and hold on tight so I can beam your ears all the way to Las Vegas so we can speak with Vikalp Tandon, Global CTO of Isobar, who's waiting to speak with us live at the Adobe Summit show floor. So a massive warm welcome to the show. Can you tell the listeners a little about who you are and what you do?
My name is Vikalp Tandon. I'm the Global Chief Technology and Data Officer for Isobar. Isobar is part of Dentsu Aegis Network, which is a dominant advertising and media and commerce agency. My role at Isobar is leading the data and technology propositions in 45 markets, leading multi-disciplinary teams ranging from engineering to consulting services to quality assurance and program, and developing propositions that we could effectively sell in markets that are mostly technology and data oriented.
So, as per usual, Isobar is a sponsor at the Adobe Summit this year. So I've got to ask, what is it that you love about this event? And is there anything that particularly excites you this year from what you've heard?
This is a very important event for us. Few reasons that I must speak about. One is Adobe is an experience-oriented company. Their main product is how to develop and deliver experiences. And Isobar's main go-to-market strategy is also experience-led. So a lot of values that we discuss in this event resonate quite a bit with us. And that is a key relationship for us to go into the market together. Well, the other main important thing that we actually cherish in this event is primarily a lot of different folks who essentially want to have business relationships with, a lot of partners that we collaborate on a day-to-day basis, delivering products. A lot of sales teams, Adobe sales teams, our sales teams are all here together, listening a single message from us, from Adobe, and that helps us to unify how we essentially tell our stories when we go back. Networking continues to be internally excelling number one driver for us to be here. Things that are exciting in this event is Adobe continues to define their experience roadmap quite well. They have an experience cloud which is fairly complete in terms of the capabilities that it brings to the table. There were a few things that were missing in the experience cloud, primarily focusing on the last mile, which is commerce, and primarily focusing on B2B. With the last few acquisitions that they have made, they have pushed towards in that direction. And we are excited that we play in that space with them.
You have over 15 years of experience in delivering multiple large-scale multi-market technology products, also consulting to complex technical solutions and establishing offshore delivery teams. But for many people tuning into this podcast all over the world, can you tell me a little bit more about what you do and the kind of problems that you solve for people and what makes Isobar unique from other solutions out there?
So we look at these problems from the lens of transformation. Our differentiation story is experience-led. So experience is always at the core of how we think about a solution. Let's give some examples. I think that's the best way to describe for it is a large insurance company. when we started to work with them, they were completely siloed organization. So you could imagine a $20 billion large insurance company would have a personal insurance, commercial insurance, life insurance, and other products that they essentially sell. They're selling these products to the same customer, but they have been very siloed in recognizing that customer, very siloed in developing and marketing those products. So we will come in and essentially help to define a digital department of sorts that will start to think about a unified way of reaching to these customers, activating them across multiple different silos that they have, and essentially converting them and retaining them over the period of time. So that's a great example of some of the work that we have done. Another example is I would talk about is a large entertainment company. They were the first company to go to the market with a CRM strategy. They were the first one to develop a loyalty platform of sorts, so that they can have customers who they have a long-term relationship with, and that relationship is based on the lifetime value of these customers, but also based on how customers value their brand. So we were involved in terms of designing those CRM programs, those loyalty programs, and activating them real time, so that when a customer is in a given facility, imagine a casino, and they play a slot game, they earn points, they walk over to the next casino, which is also owned by the same entertainment company, and their value is reflected as soon as they enter the door, and they're able to have the conversation based on the value they have earned in the past transaction. And the third thing that I would like to talk about is the example of a digital product. There's a large coffee maker, and they were running out of patent with regards to the parts they actually manufacture. So it's a printer and ink story. Yeah. They make more money in manufacturing the parts as compared to the coffee brewer. And their ability to retain various different ability to manufacture different coffee pods was quite limited, because obviously Starbucks will manufacture their own pods, or Dunkin' Donuts will do the same. So what we did with them is created a very seamless commerce experience, and that seamless commerce experience could only be enabled when you're using their machines and the parts that they have manufactured using techniques that are based in IoT and sensor technology, and that promoted the use of their pod manufacturing as compared to any pod manufacturing. Ultimately, we also created a federated loyalty program so that you as a consumer is a winner, primarily because for you brewing a Starbucks coffee, you are getting Starbucks points that you essentially can cash anywhere. But Starbucks is a winner primarily because they get to know you as a customer. If you're brewing at home, Starbucks has no knowledge about you. Yeah. And then this coffee manufacturer brand actually got the benefit because the only way this could happen is if the pods are manufactured by them. So we often get into these conversations which are very transformational in nature, that helps to have brand expand into scenarios where they don't have new products in the market. They have better relationship with their end customers, so they're able to retain them and essentially grow that relationship over the period of time, or remove silos from the organizations, which actually improves the experience part of it.
You have what must be an incredibly exciting and daunting task in equal measure of connecting the strong and growing technology and commerce community at Isobar, whilst also leveraging the agency's global technology partner relationships with some pretty big names such as Adobe, Salesforce, SAP, Hybris, Sitecore, Magento, Google, Microsoft, and so many more. I could go on and on. Yeah. But can you tell me a little bit more about that and how it enables Isobar to deliver experience-led transformation for your clients?
Certainly. I think the one keyword is the connected cloud strategy. Yeah. A lot of customers, in order for them to scale and get value from their investments, are looking at cloud. And all the partners that you spoke about have a pretty outstanding cloud offering. If you look at certain strategic partnerships that are organically developing, for example, Adobe, Microsoft, and SAP are coming together. You saw multiple press releases on that. From the other side, Salesforce, Google are coming together quite well. Those are offerings in terms of synergies of the platform capabilities that these promote. But for a brand, when they buy into those synergies, that's where the task begins. They have to figure out what role each platform would actually play in the mix. Do they stay in a friendly ecosystem, for example, Salesforce and Google, or they need a best of breed kind of ecosystem so that they can get a best of various different platforms to come in? More often than not, these platforms don't talk to each other. So we have to make sure that there is an integration built into these platforms. A simple use case that I would like to talk about is a data use case. Just take Adobe as an example. Adobe and Microsoft as an example, right? The CRM platform sits in Microsoft. But then in Adobe, you look at their analytics, where the customer data is stored, right? You look at their marketing automation platform or campaign platform, the data is stored there. You have their commerce platform, the customer data is stored there. It's critical for the brands to understand where is the single truth of the data and how the data flows between various different systems so that it gets enriched over the period of time, and therefore we could use it to develop intelligence on top of it, right? Now, this gets complicated when you add other systems that are not part of the core propositions, right? If you look into the best of breed. So we play a very critical role in terms of defining that. The other thing that I must talk about, and a lot of big brands our customers are looking into it quite openly, is the fact that they have lived the last 10, 15 years in an IBM or an Oracle monolithic systems, right? While those systems added significant value in terms of them delivering a functionality to the market, but running those systems and improving those systems was a nightmare. And what we feel is all those, including IBM and Oracle, and including the new age experience cloud technologies like Microsoft and Adobe and Salesforce and Google, they are all trying to break that monolith. And there are many scenarios that needs to be custom created when the monolith doesn't stay in the shape and format that it used to be. For example, the experience layer needs to be defined. The experience layer becomes so diverse that it goes beyond screen. It can get into augmented reality, or it could get into voice, or it can get into wearables. It is not just always a screen. So we have to think about ways to connect that experience layer when the monolith itself is broken up into multiple parts, and then build integrations so that the data and the information flows with the right quality of standards. So that continues to be a major role in terms of defining solutions as we go to the market. In most of the cases, we think through those solutions for a given industry vertical and how the data flows and how the integration happens and what is the experience there on top of it. That gives us an ability to speed up the architectural conversations and give them the value based on how they see that ecosystem.
So just to help people listening visualize the great work that you've done with brands, can I ask you to share maybe a use case or a feedback story that you have?
Yeah, sure. I think we celebrate many good case studies, some of which you can definitely find on isobar.com. But one, just want to take an opportunity to talk about my favorite that we are delivering is our relationship with Adidas. It has been a very long-term relationship. We have been with them for over 5 years. We started the relationship developing or visualizing what a premium shopping experience looks like, online, offline. So we've worked with them very closely to define how the customer engagement happens. Usually it's not linear. You could have an engagement in the social channels, you can have engagement in store, you can have engagement on the web. So visualizing what that omni-channel experience looks like is something that we did for them. And then they also hired us to implement that experience, and very proud to support a massively large commerce application that is delivered in over 20 markets in different languages, understanding various different geographical and local constraints that it operates in, and having an ability to centrally manage that application and essentially improve that application almost instantaneously whenever it is required. So that has been a big story in terms of how we deliver experiences and how we not only imagine experiences but actually deliver or make those experiences happen.
Fantastic story. Now, this is my third summit, and I've seen the experience economy evolve over the last few years, as I'm sure you have. But how challenging is it to be getting global clients to reimagine how they engage with their customers and manage their businesses in today's global digital economy and make those changes or those required changes? Are you notice any resistance, or how hard is it to get people on board?
Actually, we feel that there's probably based on who is hiring us as well, we feel that a lot of customers have realized the importance of experience, have realized the importance of digital, and have also realized the notion of agility. I think where they're struggling is how to enable that in a very complex ecosystem that they have right now, right? And this is the technology part, this is the people part, and this is the process part. Right, just putting it all together is something which becomes quite complex for them to solve. We go to the market and we talk about the way to solve this is not to put business in the center that they run, is but to put the customer in the center. It's a cliche, but when you start to think about C2B, consumer to business, as compared to B2C or B2B, then you're able to design technology, people, and processes in a way that they can all come together. And that helps us to align various different departments or silos within those organizations to collaborate, various different processes to re-engineer them. They are beneficial for the customer, who is the prime target here, or the stakeholder, which is the prime target here. And also the technology that needs to be developed or integrated or replaced, that becomes the core part of it. That continues to be a primary role. I think convincing them is easier, but I think realizing that they can be on that journey with the budgets that they have, right? Not everyone is Amazon or Best Buy in terms of their ability to spend. There are a lot of customers who are mid-sized customers, and they want to take the same journey and be equally successful in their product and services and their engagement with the customer as much as these large companies are. So how we help them to get there seems to be our primary focus as compared to convincing them because they are convinced.
So for anyone listening that cannot attend this year and are hearing about the increasing importance of real-time personalisation, are there any personalised surprises that you'll be revealing here at the summit?
We are not making any significant press releases as part of the summit. However, there's one story that we are developing and we are essentially actively selling to our customers along with Adobe and along with other partners that we have like Salesforce and Google. And this story is a human data platform story. So let's spend a few minutes just to talk about that, because we feel very ambitious that this is a differentiating story for us, and could be a differentiating story for the brands and customers that we actually work with. Usually, if you look at any engagement platform, you put customer information at the center, and that customer information usually is psychographic and demographic and transactional information. There are a lot of signals in that information that you can essentially use to determine the next best action, the personalization, or the recommendations that you essentially provide based on those. However, one key thing that is missing is the emotional quotient that sits in those signals. That is missing. And we have a proprietary technology called MindSight Direct. What we do with that technology essentially is to take a subset of your population. We test the subset of that population against an outcome, and that is recorded against 27 different kinds of emotional scores. Now, that emotional score then becomes part of the data set. The models that we essentially create to determine the emotional scores are the same models that we actually use to then score the rest of the population. So every population against a given outcome gets an emotional score as well, which is a very unique parameter that we are adding along with the psychographic and demographic information. and our algorithms that are sitting on top of it, personalization algorithms, recommendation algorithms, are making the most use of information, which is the first party or the second party or third party, but the emotional scores as well. We feel very bullish that this is a differentiating story, and we want to tell this more often than not.
Now, Gartner, of course, also recently named Isobar in the Leaders Quadrant in its Magic Quadrant for global marketing agencies. Not just this year, though, for the 5th consecutive time. I mean, that must make you incredibly proud and just make you want to keep pushing forward. But are there any digital trends or topics at this year's summit that excite you as well?
Yeah, certainly. I think, we are very, very privileged and proud to receive that recognition from Gartner. It means a lot in terms of us playing in that leadership quadrant, and that gives us a responsibility for us to continue to differentiate our proposition that we take to our customers and make them successful. Specifically in this summit, when it comes to getting recognized as a leader and how we are aligning it, is their B2C and B2B story. As I said during the start of the conversation, that they have completed their experience platform. There are certain things that are still missing, but they're trying to do with Microsoft coming in. Like CRM is not there, but Microsoft CRM can essentially tag along. They don't have a cloud, so Azure Cloud is providing that capability. They do not have certain AI based frameworks that Microsoft is providing. But I think Microsoft and Adobe is becoming quite an experience platform story to tell. On top of it, they have completed the B2C stack, and they have also started to build their B2B stack, right? So that is important for our customers. As we go to the market and tell the Adobe story, we are able to tell that with a purpose that this is going to solve for their end needs. And this is also going to solve for the maturity of the platform that is required for them to be successful and differentiating.
So what's next for Isobar? Is there anything else that you can share with me today?
We will continue to be experience-led. We will continue to be idea-led. We will continue to be innovation-led. That's how we essentially think about the experiences that we are developing. There are a few things that I would like to add. We have immense focus on thinking experiences beyond screens. We are not limited to just developing applications that could be displayed on a screen, but we are starting to think about, or have delivered in some cases, mixed reality, virtual reality kind of experiences. We are looking at voice as a primary channel, delivering the same set of content and same set of personalization, but through a different experience. And we are looking at IoT to drive seamless commerce experiences, because we want to take away the friction of that screen that exists right now. So that will continue to be a leading story in how we define experiences. The underlying platform seems to be pretty similar to what a screen-based platform is needed, which is a good news for most of our customers. They don't have to replace that. But if they have created the experience there well, and we hope we are working with them, we will be able to lead them in that direction. There are two other big things that we are very bullish about. So one is what we call as a lower funnel engagement. So if you look at a funnel, a lot of our brands are spending a ton of money on top of the funnel. And then they are spending a lot of money during the transactional pipeline. But there are a lot of steps between the top of the funnel and the bottom funnel where there are a lot of engagement opportunities that they are not strategizing. They're not putting the right dollars to essentially engage the customers when they have the need to buy the product, when they are looking at your product. And that requires a complex set of systems and processes to be assembled in order for us to sense a vast population of prospects and customers who might be interested and give them the right motivation and the right experience to essentially buy it. So we are developing certain propositions that we'll be talking about it. So hopefully when we discuss next, we will elaborate that a bit more for you. And the last one is the beyond purchase. So a lot of our big customers have done quite a bit in their omni-channel journey. They have experiences that relate to how they will sell a product that could be discovered online but could be purchased in the store. That could be discovered in the store, but that could be discussed in a social network before they actually buy it online. All those complex journeys. But one thing everyone is lacking is that what happens after the sale is made. There are various different complex scenarios in which we have to improve the experience beyond the sale as well. So imagine you bought a grocery online, and then you're now at a store to pick up the grocery. And the line to pick up the grocery is makes you wait for 15-20 minutes. How frustrating that experience would be. The customer has done everything right to take your order online, to have a fulfillment pick process, so that your grocery bag is ready when you show up at the grocery store. But there are 25 people ahead of you, and you have to wait till you get there. So what would that reinvention of that experience looks like? How would you improve that experience? Maybe you should ask them to show up at a later point in time when the traffic is low. How to get those real-time metrics to improve the experience? Another big example of beyond purchase is the fact that my customer lifetime value of a customer is big. So I imagine you are a very valuable customer to me, but the experience that you just received at the store is not a premium experience. So there's a difference between your experience that you should have received and the lifetime value that you have. The kind of promotions that I should be running and targeting to you would be quite different than another person who has a significant customer lifetime value, but instead of a bad experience, they had a good experience, right? So those experiences are different. So there's a lot to be done beyond the purchase funnel, and that is something that we are developing quite aggressively as a transformational story. So these are the 2 points I would love to talk to you when we speak next.
Well, we'll definitely get back on the show for sure. But before I do let you go, can I just ask that you let anyone listening know where they can find you online, and maybe even contact a member of your team if they've just got any questions after listening to our conversation today, because I'm conscious we've covered a lot of ground, haven't we?
Yeah, an incredible conversation, all good questions. So would love to connect to your audience. You can obviously tweet me at Vikalp Tandon, my first name and last name, or you can find me on LinkedIn. My handle on LinkedIn is my first name. So linkedin.com/in/Vikalp. That's the best way to chase me.
I was just going to say that there's so many buzzwords here at the Summit at the moment around personalisation and customer experiences, but what really stood out for me, what you just said there a few moments ago, was experiences beyond screens and beyond the sale. So for that alone, I'd love to get you back on in the near future, and we'll talk about that very topic. But more than anything, just a big thank you for taking the time to speak with me today.
Entirely my pleasure. Thanks for connecting.
Now, Vikalp was a warm and genuine guy, and I must admit, I felt like I'd known him for years and really made a friend after our conversation today. So I really do hope to stay in touch with him and follow his journey, and of course Isobar's journey too. And for me, that's what events like this are all about. We've all seen press releases and elevator pictures containing the same buzzwords that we've all read a million times before. But events and conferences like this, if you throw yourself into them, you get to speak with people and hear their story in a way that everyone can understand. And I know I'm biased, but that's why I love podcasts. But let me know your thoughts. Email techblogwriter@outlook.com and Twitter @Neil C. Hughes. But before I burn out on the show floor, it's time for me to raid the free buffet now. So thanks to Vikalp for joining me today, and an even bigger thank you to each and every one of you too for tuning in. So I'm going to walk off into the sunset towards that buffet bar and say until next time, don't be a stranger.
Thanks for listening to the Tech Blog Writer Podcast. Until next time, remember, technology is best when it brings people together.